Welcome to Hope in the Face of Cancer, where we share real stories of courageous people in their cancer journey. We are thrilled to have Val Howell with us today, a five-time cancer survivor and an inspiring leader in nursing. Val has turned her personal experience into a driving force for change in healthcare. With over 25 years of experience in healthcare leadership, she has touched countless lives, always striving to make patient care more compassionate and effective. Beyond her professional achievements, Val is a dedicated advocate for cancer awareness, using her story to inspire and empower others. She's also a longtime CanCare volunteer, offering emotional support and bringing comfort through her firsthand experience and deep empathy. Val, we are so excited to have you on the show today. Welcome.
Thank you, Darcy. And you've been such a great support, not only to CanCare, but to me personally. So thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I'm so excited for our audience to hear your story today. It's truly incredible to think that you are a five-time cancer survivor. I mean, you are such an inspiration, and I know our audience will learn so much from you about how you've stayed hopeful in this journey of yours. But I'd love to just start back at the beginning. Let's, tell our audience about the first time that you heard those words, "You have cancer."
Well, my journey started in my 20s. I had skin cancer, and it was resolved. I had some reconstructive surgery. It was never life-threatening. And in my 20s, I was just worried more if I was going to look okay. That was my number one concern. But back in 2018, I began to have a lot of symptoms of, just stomach symptoms.
Yeah.
And I had gone to several doctors who told me, oh, you have irritable bowel, or you have there's other things going on. No one ever thought I had cancer. And I actually, after a long journey, I had been diagnosed with Crohn's, and I went to a doctor to see what else can be done. I don't feel right. I don't think it's right. And I went in there thinking, well, the worst thing he's going to tell me is that I have hemorrhoids. But when I went in there, he said, you don't have Crohn's, you have cancer. And I have to say, when you hear those words, I'm a nurse. It's like, that's not me.
Yeah.
Me? I'm having cancer, like that happens to other people. That doesn't happen to me. At the time, I'd been very healthy, and I exercised, and I was a runner and biking. It was a complete shock. And I remember he was very kind. This man saved my life, this surgeon, and he was so kind. And he said, it's okay. We're going to take care of you. We need to get a biopsy. And I left shaking to the core. I couldn't even drive. I called my sister, and I can't tell you, I've been around a lot of cancer. My mother passed away from cancer, but I thought I knew cancer. I've taken care of cancer patients, but when it happens to you, it's
Nothing can prepare you. Yeah.
Nothing can prepare you for being told those words. And so that moment for me was, you never know life until you find out you get a second chance. And that moment for me was a defining moment. I have BC and AC, before cancer, after cancer. That defines my life. That moment, that day that I got that diagnosis. You're never the same.
Well, it's wonderful that you knew something wasn't quite right and that you were persistent. I mean, you were your own advocate to say, I'm going to keep asking. I'm going to keep going to different doctors to figure out what's wrong with me. Because had you not found out at that moment in time that you had cancer, it may be a very different story. So, talk to us. And I obviously, from a nursing perspective, you can quite appreciate that self-advocacy, but talk about the importance of that.
Well, I think we, as a healthcare provider, we balance between, okay, I don't want to tell them what to do. I need to be the patient, and I need to listen. But then I would also say that if something doesn't seem right, you need to advocate for yourself. And a lot of folks, they love their provider. They're very nice. And the people taking care of me were very kind. And this happens, not getting diagnosed on time does happen to a large number of folks. And so you can't worry about hurting feelings or being kind or being polite. And it's not impolite to go seek other care. You have a right you have a right to second opinions. You have a right to see other providers. So for me, it was hard because I personally knew these providers, but I also knew that it didn't seem right and I needed to get another person to look at me with a different lens. And so I think that's the hard decision. The second thing I hear from people is, I don't want to drive downtown, or I don't want to
Mm.
inconvenience myself. Inconvenience yourself.
This is your
It
life.
is,
Yeah.
this is a battle. You're a warrior, and that's what I would have to tell myself. I'm a warrior, and I got to keep going. And I've got to just be bold, and
Yeah.
I'm going to inconvenience myself. And at one point, in my journey, when I had a recurrence of my cancer, I actually sought the number one expert in the world in my cancer. And I'm lucky and I'm blessed. And I want to just say this for everyone. I am not a normal person. I work in healthcare. I have the
Yeah.
best here in the world, and I am so grateful and blessed. And I know everybody doesn't have these advantages, and I hope one day that everyone can have these advantages. But if you have, some people are limited by their insurance, but at the end of the day, seek the best care that you can get. Do your research, look for the best doctors, because it makes a difference in outcomes and it makes a difference in survivorship. And I think that's one reason why I am alive today, is because I did have access to healthcare. And that's something that I wish everyone in this country had access to, because it really closely aligns. How long you live is really dependent on your access to healthcare. So advocate for yourself. You're the
Yeah.
only one that's gonna,
Right. That puts you first. Yeah.
you're your best cheerleader. Even if your family's saying, oh, you'll be fine, it's perfectly fine. No, advocate for yourself. And even as a nurse, I did want to believe that I didn't have cancer. I mean, you hang on to that when people tell you, no, you don't have cancer. You're, oh, great. That's gone. I don't have cancer. And you want to believe that. But then another piece of me was saying, well, what if? And you're sitting here and things are just growing. You better go get checked. So I
Yeah.
encourage people to get checked.
And I can appreciate how you have different level of access and knowledge than most people. But don't you also find, for the average Joe, who is facing whatever health challenge, that the squeaky wheel sometimes gets the grease, the one that, you know, speaks up and advocates and asks the questions and persists, is often the one that's going to break through that healthcare system?
Oh, I absolutely. And I also think that you've got to reach out. So cancer was new to me. I didn't work in cancer. I didn't know cancer.
Yeah.
And navigating cancer is very complex. In fact, I was a registered nurse with the highest level of training, working in the best hospitals, here in Houston, Texas. And even myself, I had to do research. I did, one of the things I did, I got on Facebook groups, and they're not good at giving medical advice or
Right.
scientific advice
Right.
sometimes. But I think tying in and connecting in with those folks that are going through this same journey is very helpful, as well as doing your own research. But not everybody is a researcher, and not
Yeah.
everybody can do that. But I think tying in and really trying to just connect with people, support groups, that connection is so important in navigating this journey, which is why I
Yeah.
think CanCare is fantastic, because you're making connections with folks that are experiencing what you're experiencing.
Yeah, and someone else's experience might open your eyes to something you hadn't thought of or a path to pursue. So absolutely, being in community during a cancer journey, I think is critical. So let's go back into that time of your treatment. Very challenging time. You've been misdiagnosed. Now you're in treatment. And it was a rough road. How did you stay hopeful in that time?
Well, I think when I first went through treatment, you go through these stages, and I was very weepy, feeling bad feeling sorry for
Yeah.
myself. Why me? This is terrible. My life could be totally changed by this. And this is the first treatment I went through. I did a round of chemotherapy, and I did radiation at the same time. And you want to be strong. I think the first time I, went through serious cancer treatment where you're doing radiation and chemo, I tried to remain strong, and I didn't want people to know really how bad it was. Because
Mm.
in my mind, I didn't want anyone to think, oh, she's weak or she's not strong. So of course,
Yeah.
when you hear a cancer person say, I'm fine,
Don't believe them.
maybe don't believe them, because we always want to say, I'm fine, I'm fine. If I tell myself that enough times, I'm going to be fine. But I think the hardest part is there's a lot of support in the initial stages, and I think you do get wrapped around by your healthcare team. But I think the hardest part is once you finish the treatment and now you're in survivorship, and survivorship isn't easy. People think, oh, you beat
Mm,
it, you know, you're
right.
there, you're here. But it's not you don't really beat it. Cancer stays with you the
Mm,
rest of your life. You're almost like you have post-traumatic stress disorder. You've had the
sure.
worst happen to you. And as I went along, and I did get support, but I did also get a lot of unsolicited advice from folks. Someone told me I needed to eat clean, and perhaps I wouldn't, have gotten
Yeah.
cancer. But and it was very well intended, but I think survivorship is another hard place because you do have sequela from the treatments. You're never the
Yeah.
same. I didn't have the stamina. I've not had the stamina that I had, BC, before cancer,
Right.
and people, you may look normal, you may look okay, you may be saying you're fine, but you're really not. And so I think for cancer survivors and people who've experienced cancer and you're going through treatment, ask for the help if you need it
Yeah.
and be okay with it. A lot of people say, let me know what I can do, call me anytime. If you're talking to somebody who's experiencing it, say, if you need grocery shopping, let me know. And I had one individual do that and said, if you need me to go grocery shopping, let me know. And one day I thought, I don't want my husband going and buying all the stuff that I need. I
Yeah.
I want a nurse to go and
Right.
pick out the best. I needed some nutrition shakes. I needed some protein bars. And so I call this friend, and I said, would you mind going shopping? And she and her daughter showed up and they went shopping for me. And that was one, probably, a couple of hours of their time. But to me, it meant so much. And I still, to this day, it just means so much to me that, those little things that people
Yeah.
did along the way that helped me out.
Yeah.
Second time I went through treatment was much worse. And I know we'll get into that later, but I think anytime you know somebody, a coworker, whether it be someone at your church, whether it
Yeah.
be your family member, it's not food that people need because you don't
Mm,
really eat, but it's those little things, going shopping.
hmm.
Somebody brought me a care package with a blanket and some socks, and that was really nice. And so I think that just knowing that people are there and they're willing and able to help you with those little things, it's just very impactful.
You mentioned when you were going through that um, first round of treatment that you kept saying to folks, I'm fine, I'm fine. You really try to put on that brave front. Looking back on that now, if you were to do that again for that first time, would you do it differently? Did it
Oh, I
teach?
definitely would. I mean, I was so bent on, I'm a warrior. I'm going to be strong. I'm
Right.
going to show people that, I don't need help. I cried every night. I think the hardest thing about having cancer, life-threatening cancer, is leaving your family. I wasn't
Yeah.
worried about dying. I was worried about, oh, I'm letting everybody down. I
Yeah.
need to be strong. I had a lot of people that reported to me, I'm letting my work down. I'm letting my family down. I'm letting my dogs. I would look at them and just start crying and thinking, if I'm not here, they're going to be looking for me and looking for me. So
No.
I think the second time I did get counseling, and I recommend that because
Yeah.
you really have to, when they say be present, I would hear that, be present, be present. It didn't mean anything to me. I'm like, be present.
Yeah.
It's easy for you to say, you don't have cancer. I'm not present. I'm worried about the future.
Yeah.
I'm worried about me being gone and my daughter not having her mom the rest of her life. What does this be present mean? Because I was always moving very fast. I
Hmm.
was always impatient. I would go to the doctor and if they said we're behind, I'd say reschedule, I'll be back. Cancer teaches you patience.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
finally at one point, after weeping and crying and just being really upset, in my off time, of course, I presented a different face to everyone else.
Yeah.
I remember one day just praying and I said, God, I give it to you. I
Mhm.
can't control this. I can't control what's happening to me. I don't know when my time is going to come, and I'm going to have to put it in your hands. And I gave the burden to God, and that one day changed me. I
Mhm.
quit crying. I quit being worried. And then I started realizing what being present meant. And being present really meant enjoy your family, enjoy
Yeah.
times, enjoy work. Work is a privilege. I
Mhm.
was so worried I was not going to be able to get back to work, and work is a privilege, and I say that to people that don't want to work. I was
Yeah.
so happy to get back to work. The first day I said, I'm back. And
It's some
I think
normalcy to.
it was a normalcy. And I think that to do it again, I think seeking help, seeking counseling or whatever it is you need to help you get through this, I think is more healthy than
Yeah.
pretending everything's fine and then you're breaking down,
Yeah.
and you can't handle little things just really get you going. So I think definitely if I did it again, I would try to do more being present and not just blowing that off and saying that's for people who are living a long, long time and don't have cancer.
Well, something else you raised, I think is really important. You mentioned kind of the PTSD factor of once you get through treatment. I think sometimes when you're in treatment, you're surrounded by so much more community, but
Mhm.
you're also so focused on just getting through the treatment that sometimes it's not until you're past the treatment does the emotion of it all hit you. And then that's when people really aren't around anymore. So, talk
Right.
about that stage of the equation. I mean, that's sometimes I think post-treatment is when you almost need the support the most when you're finally allowing yourself to kind of come to grips with what's happened to you.
Right. And that I think is what we have to focus on now is the survivorship because, whenever you ring the bell, that's such a symbol like, it's over. It's like you ran a marathon and you're going through the finish line and you're like, thank goodness I'm here. I've won. And you've won, but you carry the burden of side effects. You carry the
Yeah,
burden of, there's all kinds of side effects that people have with chemo,
yeah,
long-term side effects you have with radiation. Radiation is very damaging to your body. And so I think that that's the hardest part is you don't want to sound like, wah, 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 I had cancer, wah, wah, wah. It's still in your mind, but everybody's like, okay, you need to, get over it because you're good now. You don't have cancer anymore. You've gotten through treatment.
right.
But I think mentally it is a horrifying experience to go through. I mean, you fought a long battle and you still have battle scars. And I
Yeah,
think people need to recognize that there's some vulnerability that you
yeah.
have the rest of your life. Things that don't bother you before bother you now.
Mm,
And sometimes people need to understand, like whenever I have a scan, I'm always kind of worried the week before a little bit. I'd be
yeah,
before I used to be really worried. Now it's just a fact of life. And then the day you have your scan, you don't know if they're finding out, oh, we're going to be keeping an eye on things or, oh, this is going on. It's hard to just keep, I guess, gripping onto people about your cancer
yeah,
journey. And sometimes you kind of withdraw a little bit, but I encourage people in survivorship, continue those connections with those
yeah.
other survivors.
There's no
Continue
one who understands that more than another survivor. And so, having that
exactly.
community of people who really get what you're going through, I think about it almost like returning from war,
Yeah,
and unless you've
continue.
been there and come back on the other side, you don't know what it's like. And having those people around you who truly get it.
Right. So I would say continue if you have counseling or life coaching,
Yeah,
continue that, so you
yeah,
can move forward.
absolutely. So, how were you introduced to CanCare?
Well, I worked at a hospital and I had heard of CanCare. And I think in the beginning I thought, well, I don't need that because I'm a
Mm.
nurse and I already know. I know
I
it
know
can.
everything. Yeah.
I already know I'm strong, I'm going to be okay. Um, but as I was going through the journey and my doctors recognized that I was having, problems and I had a very rare cancer. I was diagnosed the first time with anal cancer, the same as Farrah Fawcett. And so
Mhm.
it's not like I had a sisterhood of community
Right.
with this diagnosis. It's very rare. And my doctor said, just call CanCare, give them a call. And I
Mhm.
did give them a call, and they connected me with a volunteer who had the same cancer I did.
Mhm.
And I was reading all these horror stories about it. And I said, what about this? And she said, look, I'm working, I'm back to normal, I'm
Mhm.
doing okay. You might want to make sure you get, physical therapy afterwards. She gave me
Mhm.
some helpful advice on how she went through it. And at that point, I found hope. And,
Yeah.
we always say that CanCare is about hope, but it is. It's about
Yeah.
meeting somebody else who's been through your journey who can say, wow, because I talked to you, I'm hopeful now. Because I saw Farrah Fawcett and she was my idol, and that was my perception of the cancer I had. But when I met you, I now I'm now hopeful that
Yeah.
I can get back to work and I could go on that vacation next year,
Yeah.
maybe I could plan a vacation because I think I was living in a world where, oh, I don't want to plan a vacation because I might die, you know, or I don't want to plan going back to school because it's just silly because I've had cancer and this person, gave me a lot of hope and it didn't take a lot of interactions. I
Yeah.
chose a couple of interactions. I didn't have to have a lot of interactions and everyone's different.
Yeah.
I've had people that needed daily interaction and I've had people that, just wanted to talk to somebody one time and I think it's very helpful.
Yeah. No,
And
I
then
absolutely.
I would say my best part of being in CanCare was after I got through my treatment. My doctor actually said to me, I think you'd be a great volunteer because you have a positive attitude.
Mm.
I think you should volunteer. And I thought, me? Wow, you think she said, absolutely. And going through that training experience was such a healing journey, meeting people who had been through what I've been through and meeting people who said, I want to give back. And I promised God, I said, God, if you let me live through this, I will help every cancer patient. I will do whatever
Mm.
to fight this disease and to help people with it. And this was an answered prayer, really.
Yeah.
And I started feeling good. It was a healing moment. And my first person, I won't say her name,
Yeah.
but I'll call her Miss Sassy because she was very sassy and sweet. And she was my age and she was a few months behind me. And we
Mm.
had that connectivity. And to be able to take this scared person who was shaking and crying, and she said she couldn't even work, she couldn't have interactions with people, she was just thinking about the diagnosis. And to be able to help her get through that journey was just so rewarding. I thought,
Mm.
this is why I'm still here and God's letting me be here so that I can help people through this. And that I think is the most rewarding part of this journey. That has healed me the most is being able to get back. I have had a patient that passed away and I went with her through the whole journey and I talked to her like 2 weeks before she
Mhm.
passed and I got a call from her daughters and they said, we found your number and she talked about you all the time
Oh,
and what a difference you made in her life. And we just want to thank you for being there for our mom. And that was so rewarding
yeah.
because even though she didn't have the outcome that we wanted, that she wanted, or her daughters wanted, I in some way helped her in that
Yeah.
journey, even though that journey, ended up with
Yeah.
her not, you know, surviving as long as she wanted to. But it was just so rewarding. And I can't tell you how much CanCare has given to me. I mean, everyone always thanks me. Thank you for volunteering. And I'm like, no, thank you for this privilege of getting to help others who are going through the worst possible nightmare.
Yeah.
It's like your own lifetime movie when you get cancer. So I want to,
Yeah.
yeah, it's been
Well,
fantastic.
you're not only pouring into other people who need you in that moment, but it's changing you at the same time, So I know you've talked about just how healing the volunteering was for you, not just being a client, but then as you're a volunteer, you're still being healed through that process.
I'm healed every day. And it's also helped my work in that I go in and help healthcare organizations, and I go in and help nursing organizations, whether, whatever it is. I'm also able to bring not just a nursing perspective, not just my education and experience, but I think my most valuable asset is I bring a patient perspective
Yes,
to the table now. I can actually say, I've been on the other side, and I
that's
really
right.
know, I feel
That's
that I
right.
know what's important to patients. And that to me has been a gift as well, because prior to, having cancer, I'd been healthy. In fact, when I went to nursing school, I'd never even been in a hospital. And so it was a whole, I'd been in one as in my prior life, but not as a patient. And so this has really given me a perspective that is just so blessing. And I think I serve my clients better because I do have that perspective, and I'm more authentic in the work I do, and I'm more inspired to do a better job because I've been a patient, and I want healthcare to be great everywhere.
Absolutely. No, you've got such a unique perspective, to bring into your work on a day-to-day basis. That's incredible. So you are a former NFL cheerleader. How has kind of your being in the public eye, how has your story impacted your public facing presence, and how have you kind of turned um, that opportunity to be in front of others into a platform through this journey?
Oh, thank you. Yes, I was fortunate. I cheered for the Houston Oilers and then the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. And those experiences being an NFL cheerleader really drove me to nursing. We used to
Mm.
visit people in the hospital and
Oh,
nursing,
wow.
and just that experience really helped me decide I wanted to be a nurse. But as far as the platform, I think it's given me an insight. I'm able to open the door to other folks that I normally wouldn't be interacting with. And through this platform, I'm able to help not just, cheer sisters, because all of us are aging. My cheer sisters, we're all aging, and I can be a help
It
too.
happens to us all.
But I think it's just a unique privilege that I've had in my life to be able to have this platform. And I do a lot of volunteer activities with our organization, and it's very fulfilling. It's another aspect of the volunteerism that I have, but it's been fun, and it's been a privilege. So I'm grateful.
So you're an advocate, you're a CanCare volunteer. What would you say to someone who is maybe on the other side of their cancer journey? They're out of treatment, they're still healing. What would you say about becoming a volunteer? Like, if you had to pitch someone to say, why should you consider doing this? What would you say?
Well, I would say number one, you will get back way more
Yeah,
than you put in.
yeah,
I
that's
mean,
good.
way more than you put in. Number two, anyone can do it. In fact, people say, well, I don't like to talk that much. And I said, that's good, because
It's all
people
about
want to have,
listening.
yeah, I mean, I've had to learn how to listen in this organization,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
this new genre that I'm doing. Not that I don't listen, but you don't have to be a big talker. You don't need any special skills or education. It's you bring yourself and bring your experience with cancer, and bring your compassion and be
that's
there
right.
for people. And I would say, and going through the training, yes, there is time that you have to commit, but I learned a lot from the training that I not only apply in my role as a volunteer, but I apply it now in my leadership. I've
Mm.
learned a lot of skills, life skills, professional skills in that training. And I am so connected to those folks I went to training with. And every time we have a CanCare event and I see them,
Yeah.
we're just really connected on a level that I can't even explain. It's more than friendship. It's deeper than friendship. It's more like a sisterhood and a brotherhood that you have with
Yeah.
fellow warriors, you know? So
Yeah.
I would say do it. You will get back way more than you put in, and you'll be blessed, and you'll move beyond feeling like you're a victim and poor me to, wow, I'm helping somebody. I feel great. And maybe this is why this is why something
Yeah.
happened to me. No one
Yeah.
knows why it happens to people, but it's part of your healing journey.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, how would you say cancer has shaped you?
Oh gosh, it's shaped me a lot. I think number one, it has made me be closer to God. And of course, everyone finds God, right, when you're dealing with a life-threatening illness, but it's beyond that. It made me really trust in God and realize the power of God and that He's walking with you, because I have been through so much. My second time I got cancer, I went through 12-hour surgery. I spent 30 days in a hospital. It changed me. And then I had a breast cancer surgery right after that. It changed me. And I thought, how would I have gotten through this without God? How would I got diagnosed with breast cancer and my anal cancer at the same time, recurrent anal cancer,
Wow.
it's nightmare. How would I have gotten through this without God? So I think it's made me realize the power of my faith, the power of my family and friends that have supported me. And it's also made me think, you know what? Go buy the RV. I bought an RV this year. Go
Go,
buy the
girl.
RV. When are you going to buy the RV? Buy it now. Buy it today. Stop and take the picture, if you're out
Mm,
somewhere. Go and plan that vacation. Don't live your life waiting for something to happen. Make it happen today. Why not today? Why not now?
mm,
And it's made me really appreciate the little things as well. I mean,
yeah.
I appreciate being able to go to work every day. And I have to say, I have fantastic coworkers and a boss that said to me, and this is for bosses out there, please say this to your
Yes.
folks, that I know you're going to have a tough year, but you're going to be with us for 10 to 15 years till you retire. I'm not worried about the year. Okay. So you take care of
Wow.
yourself, take all the time you need, and we are here for you. And it's comforting to hear that from people you report to, because they really, it's been 2.5 years since my last surgery, but they really talk the talk and walk the walk. And I did not get treated any different at work. So I think that's how it's changed me. And it's made me be an advocate for people who have cancer. And really, I want, and disability, you know.
On that front, you've talked to me offline about hidden disabilities. Tell our audience what that means to you and why it's so important.
Well, there's a lot of attention right now being focused on people. For example, I travel a lot. People, oh, they're getting on the plane early, they're not really that sick, you know. Or I don't know why they're saying they can't do X or do this or do that. I spent a month in a hospital. I spent 3 months where I couldn't raise up more than 30 degrees. I was basically almost bedridden, and that deconditioned me. And
Mm.
I look normal. I'm sure if you see me walking down the street, you would have no idea that underneath everything that I have, I'm broken. Um, and I find that there's a lot of folks with hidden disabilities that you don't know what people are going through. So
Yeah.
I don't like the judgment that's going on towards people to say, how disabled are you? Are we the disability police? If someone declares that they need help or they need extra assistance or they need to board the plane early or do whatever it is, the accommodation they need, let's not be judgmental. Let's understand that there's people that underneath everything have issues. They have
Yeah.
problems, you know, and that's something that I'm really focused on as well, is I've been treated poorly myself when I've needed extra time to get on the plane. People are wondering why. And I'm thinking, well, I just got out of the hospital a month ago and, you know, I've
Right.
had blood transfusions. I've gone through, surgeries. And so nobody knows the story. Let's just, like they say, be kind to one another
Yeah.
and be helpful
You
to
never know what the person next to you is going through.
you don't, you know.
Yeah. So as you are looking to the future, what are you most excited about the next chapter in your life? Sounds like an RV. The RV is
Oh,
in the future.
yeah. The RV has been great. But I'm really looking forward to, I used to, before I really got a handle on myself and a handle on this, in my first, I call it my first cancer treatment, I really didn't look forward to much because I thought, what if? I'm not going to go back to school because what if? I don't want to buy an RV because what if something happens to me? Or, I always plan for the what if. And I think today I'm in a better place. And today I'm like, we never know when our time is coming. And I plan on being around for a long time until God calls me home. And I'm going to live for today. And I think what I look forward to is I'm back in school now, even though a lot of people think
What?
I should be in retirement. I'm back in school and it's been very grateful. I'm very excited about what I'm doing at work and all the
Yeah.
good stuff we have going on at work and the growth. And I'm excited about my family. My daughter's growing into a young woman and she has a lot of exciting, she's a professional artist. And I don't mean it in this, I shouldn't say this is not in any particular order because I don't want to. But I'm excited about my daughter growing into a young woman and
Yeah.
maybe one day having a family. I'm excited about so many things. And I don't let any noise or any, what if this happens? I don't let that come into my mind. I just say, away, this is, get away from me. I know I'm walking with God every day and I'm going to live my life to the fullest every day and look forward to just having Thanksgiving dinner. I'm excited about that.
Yes. The little things. The little
Yes.
things for sure. So we have many amazing listeners, and some of them may be facing a cancer diagnosis today. Some might just be out of treatment. Some are caring for loved ones facing cancer. What message of hope would you want to share with our listeners today?
Well, first of all, I think um, there is hope, and nobody knows your story. Your story isn't someone else's story. Your story,
Mm,
your story. It's going to be unique.
yeah.
So don't let all the noise about, oh, so and so had it and they didn't make it, or this happened, or even the statistics.
Mm,
I would say to people when you read those statistics, um, it's all cause death. So it doesn't mean that they died of cancer. They're just looking to see who was alive after 5 years. And many times it's elderly people, it's
yeah.
not. So you can't look at statistics and say, that's me. This is all I have. Everybody's story is unique. Your
Yeah.
story is different and you're going to have to battle. You're going to have to do the best for yourself, be inconvenienced, get the best treatment. And I tell people, you got to crawl, then you're going to walk,
Yeah.
then you're going to run, and then you're going to fly.
Mm,
And also, I would say, it's all in God's hands. Rely on your faith, whatever it may be. It doesn't have to be my God. It may be whatever God that you have or
mm,
spirituality that you have. Rely on that. And that's going to give you that's going to give you power, And every time I get afraid, they always say faith over fear. And I say,
mm,
if I'm afraid, that means I'm losing faith and I'm not going to be afraid. I'm not going to be afraid and anymore. I'm not going to let cancer get me, well, 6 times. Not going to let cancer get me again.
wow.
And a lot of people have chronic diseases. And from a healthcare perspective, I tell myself, cancer's like a chronic disease now.
Yeah.
It's being treated like if you got diabetes, there was no cure for diabetes. There's no cure
Mhm.
for heart disease. And many years ago, it was probably a death sentence at some point if you got diabetes, but technology and
Yeah.
medicine and what we've done on research, people live with diabetes the rest of their lives. And some of them have, people have normal life expectancies. Heart disease, cancer is probably going to enter that same era where it can be managed like a chronic disease, even if you are stage 4, even if you are, you know, advanced stages,
Yeah.
it's going to be a chronic disease in the future. So don't give up hope.
That's right.
Yeah, hope is what all that's what you have, and that's what keeps you who you are. And don't let cancer change the essence of who you are. When I was bald and I felt so low because I felt bad, I had all these physical issues going on, and I felt so awful. I thought someone told me, don't let cancer change who you are. You're the same person. You have the same mind. You're the
Yeah.
same character. Cancer doesn't change the essence of you, and your appearance doesn't change the essence of you.
That's right.
Don't let it
That's
change
right.
you.
That's a great message. Thank you so much, Val. You are so inspiring and a warrior. You use that word, and that if there was one word I would use to describe you, it is a warrior. So
I
we
don't
are
know
just
about that. I
we're
said, we
so
don't
great.
volunteer for cancer. If they said, who wants to get cancer? I would run out the door.
Well,
We just get
you're
thrown in sometimes.
That's right. Well, your journey has touched so many others in a positive way. You've provided hope to so many, and we're so grateful for that. And your story today, I know, is providing hope to our audience. So, to our listeners, we thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed today's episode of Hope in the Face of Cancer, we hope you'll like and follow us so you can be notified of upcoming episodes. And if you or someone you love is facing a cancer diagnosis, CanCare is here to support you, no matter where you live in the U.S. So we encourage you to visit our website at cancare.org to request a survivor by your side, like Val, during your cancer journey. And if you're a cancer survivor, or if you've loved someone with cancer, we would love to have you join the CanCare family as a volunteer, and you can provide hope to someone along their cancer journey. So visit our website for more information about becoming a volunteer. No matter your cancer connection, you can provide hope in the face of cancer to someone when they need it most by becoming a donor to CanCare. We hope to see you next time on Hope in the Face of Cancer. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Hope in the Face of Cancer, a survivor by your side. If you or someone you know is facing cancer or is supporting a loved one through their journey, we invite you to share this podcast. Thank you for your support in our efforts in the cancer community. No one should face cancer alone.